At the end of the day, you can either be a Muslim or an Australian. It must be either or, because the two do not correlate and do not correspond.
After two nurses in a Sydney hospital openly vowed to exclude Israeli patients in an open TikTok live video, threatening to let them die if they came under their care, Australian patriots have risen up to say no to Islamic extremism and hate in their country. Their message is clear: send all radical Muslims and all hate preachers and extremists back to where they came from, and let Australia be free, because it's not a land of hate. Despite reports indicating that the perpetrators have been arrested and are facing court proceedings, many Australian patriots argue that this response is insufficient. They contend that the government has not adequately identified or addressed the broader issue of radical elements still residing within their communities. The call for action has grown louder as these patriots insist that the presence of extremists poses a continuing threat to the values of tolerance and coexistence that Australians hold dear.
No more Muslim refugees in Australia. Take a strong stance. Protect our security, our safety on our streets, and our people.
There are those lurking close at hand who wish to destroy all that is Australian and our freedom.
The backdrop to this outcry is an alarming rise in anti-Semitic incidents across the nation. Since the onset of the Israel-Hamas war on October 7, 2023, Australia has witnessed over 2,000 reported incidents of anti-Semitism, an increase of 3 times compared to the previous year. This surge includes a range of violent acts: houses set ablaze, synagogues vandalised, and Jewish schools and childcare centres targeted. One particularly harrowing episode occurred last month, when police discovered a trailer filled with explosives in a Sydney suburb, potentially thwarting a serious anti-Semitic attack. The Addis Israel Synagogue in Melbourne, a sacred place of worship, was also targeted and set ablaze, forcing families to flee as flames engulfed their community's spiritual home. Amidst these events, radical chants have echoed through the streets, seemingly justifying the violence. What began as a movement advocating for Palestinian rights appears to have transformed into something far more sinister, with the intent to intimidate, threaten, and silence Jewish Australians. The rise of Islamist slogans and radical rhetoric at these rallies raises pressing questions about the future of Australian society. Is this a dangerous step toward Islamisation? Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has labelled the situation a national crisis, a sentiment echoed by opposition leader Peter Dutton. Yet many Australians are left wondering why it took the burning of synagogues and the issuing of death threats in hospitals for the government to recognise the urgency of the matter. While new hate crime laws have been enacted, many citizens question whether these measures are truly sufficient. The broader issue of how Australia arrived at this juncture cannot be overlooked. The unchecked rise of extremist rhetoric, coupled with the deafening silence from certain community leaders, points to a systemic failure that Australia can no longer afford to ignore. As the nation stands at a crossroads, the critical question remains: will Australia continue to watch as Islamist extremism festers under the guise of protests? Will it permit radicals to dominate its streets, hospitals, and schools? Or will it finally draw a decisive line in the sand? The stakes are high. If this wave of extremism is not confronted head-on, the Australia that citizens know and cherish may be at risk of vanishing altogether. The question lingers: is it already too late for decisive action? In this pivotal moment, it is essential for all Australians to engage in constructive dialogue and work together to foster a society that prioritises peace, tolerance, and mutual respect. Only through collective effort can the values that define Australia be safeguarded for future generations.